Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about LoRa's, because LoRa's in ComfyUI are absolutely your best friend. I mean, the manager is your best friend, LoRa is your best girlfriend. Let's say that this way. But what is a LoRa? So, without annoying you with the super technical stuff, a LoRa is a piece of ComfyUI, so let's call it a node in ComfyUI that let you give a certain attribute to your image. So let's make an example to be more clear. Let's say that you want to create an image of an anime and you are working with SDXL, for example, so Stable Diffusion. If you want to do an anime style character, you can prompt anime style character. But if you want to be more specific, or if you want to ensure 100% that what you will be getting here as an image is an anime character, you can add a LoRa for anime characters, for example. Or let's say another way, you are working with Qwen Image Edit, for example, and you want your character to be super realistic, so you don't want plastic skin, but for example you want some moles, some freckles, some pores in the skin texture. You can add a LoRa that enhance realism. Or you can even add more LoRa's, so you can stack up 1, 2, 3 LoRa's to have a combining of the three, or the two, for example. Don't go above 3 LoRa's at a time, because sometimes it won't work well. And of course, there are some LoRa's that don't work well with other ones. So play around with it a little bit and don't go over a certain amount of LoRa's. So with that being said, I hope that now you understand a little bit better what a LoRa is. It's basically just a tool that allows you to give a certain attribute to your creation. And of course, the model you're working with, so let's say Stable Diffusion, for example, or Flux or Qwen, have different kind of LoRa's. So if you want to use a LoRa, make sure that is created for the model you are using. So if you're using Stable Diffusion, you want a LoRa for Stable Diffusion. If you're using one, you want a LoRa that is good for one. And so on for Flux, for Qwen. I mean, every single model have their optimized LoRa. So make sure that you download and install the LoRa's that is working with your model. Now, where you can download LoRa's, of course, you can go on CVTI. So as you can see, if I type JuggernautsXL LoRa's, for example, I have these LoRa's and I can choose which one to download. If you are searching in the web version of CVTI, you can also scroll down here on the left side of the screen and tag filter by model type, so you search just for LoRa's, because sometimes, and it happens, the title says LoRa, but in reality it is a checkpoint, so make sure that it is an actual LoRa. Another way to distinguish really quickly if it is a LoRa or a checkpoint, LoRa's are much lighter on the gigabyte size than a checkpoint. A checkpoint can be 2, 3, 4 gigabytes, for example. A LoRa, it is 200 megabytes, 300 megabytes. So in that way, you can differentiate it really quick if it is an actual LoRa or a checkpoint. And if you click someone, I have this one open here. Here on the type, you can see that this is a LoRa, so it's safe to download. If you don't want to download it from here, you can go inside your ComfyUI, into Manager, into CVComfy, insert your API key. So I'll do it really quickly. So you put your API key. Here you can also just click for LoRa's. So the default model type for saving is LoRa's. I saved. And in the search, I can go with JuggernautsXL LoRa's, for example, and search. As you can see, I'm getting the same one. So if I want to download it, I can download it directly from here. What's the difference? As you may already know if you saw my last videos, If you download it directly from here, it goes automatically in the right folder, and so you will have at your disposal really quickly. So I can click it and start downloading. Perfect, the download is started. And so as you can see, 162 megabytes, so very, very light. Or if you download it directly from Juggernaut, from CVTAI, let's say that I want to download this LoRa to make our picture like this Marvel character, I can download it from here. And once I have it, I go into my ComfyUI folder, Models, LoRAs, and here I put the LoRAs that I've downloaded. So in this case, here I have my uploading bar. I'm uploading the LoRAs that I've downloaded a minute ago. So, and as you can see here, we have already the Juggernaut Cine XL. That is the one that we've downloaded, this one. As you see, Juggernaut Cinematic XL LoRAs. So now I'm working in Jupyter Lab, so the uploading is a little bit slow, but if you're working locally, the uploading is super fast, it's immediate, and so we have to wait until this one is done. But in the meantime, we can see here our basic workflow. Once again, checkpoint loader, and in this case I'm using Juggernaut XL, so it's a stable diffusion XL. Positive prompt, negative prompt, our empty latent image, as I remember you, this is like our Canva, our case sampler, from where all these values are put, and we go into the VIA decode, that is decoding what we are telling, and here our image. So I give it a really simple prompt. A beautiful red-haired woman, she's wearing a blue dress, she is in her living room, so as you can see, the image is this one. So where do we put a LoRa and how do we add a LoRa into a basic workflow like this one? We double click, and the easiest way, load LoRa. As you can see, load LoRa, and here we have this node. So in order to make things a little bit more tight, here from model we go here, and from model in the case sampler. From clip we go into clip here, and from clip we go into positive and into negative. So as you can see here, the model and the clip goes into load LoRa, the model goes into the case sampler, as you can see here. Perfect. And the clip goes into clip positive, clip negative, and as always, the positive in the positive and the negative in the case sampler. So in this way, we have connected a LoRa. And here we can choose all the LoRas that we have. So right now I have to refresh my ComfyUI because I can't find the stable diffusion LoRa that we just downloaded, because I downloaded after loading up my workflow in ComfyUI. So I'll refresh my page, and now we can see the Juggernaut and the second Juggernaut. So this one is the cinematic LoRa, and this one is the superhero one of Marvel. So let's start with adding the LoRa of the cinematic LoRa. So in this case, our LoRa is to have a cinematic shot of the picture that we are generating. So the light, the way that the image is, it is more cinematic. So this is a very simple and very basic LoRa. It is not something incredible. It just adjusts the lighting of your image to be a little bit more cinematic. Also, I should mention it. Here we have strength model and strength clip. This is the strength of both the model and the clip that is connected to your LoRa. So 1 is 100, 0 is 100%, 0 is 0%. Basically is how much the LoRa afflict your final image. So 100%, it's like this. If we go 0, it is the same as not putting the LoRa in the image. Okay? So sometimes maybe if you have 2 or 3 different LoRa's, you want one to be 100% because you want that exact feature in your image, and maybe you want one that is 0.5, 0.8, because you just want a little bit. So for example, if I use this cinematic one with a not safe for work one, for example, I want the cinematic 100% because I want a cinematic picture in the end. But maybe I don't want a super strong not safe for work LoRa's, but I want just a little bit. And I can put 0.5, for example. Or as in the example that I told you before, if I'm using a LoRa that enhances the skin, so add some freckles, some pores, some moles, for example, maybe I don't want a lot all in my picture. I just want a little bit to have a skin enhancement that is a little bit, so I can have it that LoRa at 0.5 or 0.8, for example. So play around with these values and see what happened in your final image. And so one thing I forgot to mention, of course, is that some LoRa's works with trigger words. So for the cinematic one that we have just downloaded, we have here in the details of the LoRa's the trigger words for these LoRa's. So the trigger words here are movie still, film still, cinematic shot, or cinematic lightning. So if we copy one of these one, let's say cinematic lightning, for example, and we go back into our positive prompt, we can just paste the trigger words. So in this way, I can run it and my LoRa's will be applied. And so, as you can see, the lighting of the image is changed completely, and the way the light interacts with our character is changed, and our character is much more defined now because we have this LoRa. But again, this LoRa is just a super basic one, so the change won't be super impressive. I mean, it's just to have a cinematic shot. Now, let's see how we can concatenate two different LoRa's in a workflow so that you can see how it's done and what the final results are. So the process is really, really simple. You double click, you search for load LoRa, just as before, and this time you connect the model from the number 1 LoRa to the model of the second, the clip, and the clip of the second with the positive and the negative, and the model into the case sampler model. So this way we have connected two LoRa's in the same workflow. And if you want to be super organized, here you can change the title to load LoRa's to maybe cinematic, because this is the cinematic LoRa's. And since here we use the Marvel character one, we can go with Marvel Juggernaut. Okay, so in this way we can understand better what LoRa are we using. Of course, you don't have to, it's just to be super clear and precise in our workflow. So if you have a giant workflow with maybe two LoRa's and you don't recollect which one are you using, and maybe you want to bypass one and just use one, and you don't remember, this way you can see cinematic, oh, I'm using the cinematic LoRa, or here Marvel Juggernaut, oh, I'm using the superhero one, so that you can see. But first we need to see what is the trigger words for our Juggernaut LoRa's. So the trigger words here is a muscular man with an armor and a helmet. So if I copy it and I paste it here, now if I run, we have these two LoRa's combined. Perfect. So now, as you can see, we have our beautiful, not so beautiful right now, but our woman with red hair, and here there is our superhero with a cinematic lightning in their living room. So as you can see here, we have combined these two LoRa's to create our final results. And this is basically how to you insert a LoRa in a workflow, how you can concatenate, so have 1, 2, 3 different LoRa's inside a single workflow, and how a LoRa can affect your image. So we'll see it once again, one more time, just to be sure. From the checkpoint, you can go into one LoRa, or two, or even three. From the LoRa, the clip is into a positive prompt, a negative prompt, and here into the K-sampler. Remember to connect the model from the LoRa and not directly from the checkpoint into the K-sampler. K-sampler, of course, as always, empty latent image, VIA decode, and preview image or save image if you feel confident that the image that you are generating is good enough. I always prefer the preview image, and if I like it, I manually save it. So this is a very basic workflow just to let you see how you can use a LoRa and how you can use two LoRa's, for example. Now, let's move on and see what if we want to apply a LoRa in another model, for example, Qwen Image Edit. So we go into the workflow of Qwen. So here it is my Qwen Image Edit workflow. I bypass this because we just want our image. And as you can see, here it is a little bit different because we have load diffusion model, and the node for the LoRa, in this case, is load LoRa model only. Why this? Because this is a model, not a checkpoint. So here we have a load diffusion model, and in this case we are loading Qwen Image Edit. We have a load clip that is separate from the model. So the clip is separate and have their own node, and the load VIE. So if we go back to the workflow, as you can see here in load checkpoint, you have model, clip, and VIE. It's all in the same node. But here we have it separately. So in this case, we just want to load a LoRa, and from model to model, and from model to model, or if you're working with the K-sampler directly, from model to model in the K-sampler. This is just for Qwen, so don't worry about this one right now. And so here we just want our LoRa. So another way we can use a LoRa, for example, in Qwen, is to lower the number of steps that you require to create your image, and so have a faster generation that doesn't consume too much VRAM, for example. So in this case, we have a 4-step LoRa's, and as you can see in the K-sampler, the number of steps is 4. Or I can go with 8-step LoRa's, and so here I need to change the number of steps to 8, for example. So this is another way to use a LoRa, to use less VRAM and have faster generation, but still good enough in the quality. So here, if I put the Lightning 8-step LoRa's, I can generate the image from my prompt, and we will have a very fast image compared to not having this LoRa and here having 20 steps, for example. Another important thing of the number of steps is, if you're using a 8-step or a 4-step LoRa's, the CFG you want it into 1, and the number of steps is 8 or 4, depending on what you're using. But if you are not using this kind of LoRa's and you want the full steps, so 20 steps, the CFG needs to be higher. So the usual is 3.5. You can go a little bit less, so 2.5, 2.8, for example, or 3. But you don't want to go too high, like 8 or 9, for example. If the number of steps is high, like 20, we can go with 3.5. If you're using a 8-step or a 4-step LoRa's, the number of steps is the name of the LoRa's, and in the CFG you want 1 as value. And so in this case, I have just one LoRa, and is to speed things up. Now, what if in this workflow I want to add another LoRa? So I double click and I go with LoRa loader model only, this one. As you can see, it is the exact same node. And what I have to do here is to connect the model here and the model here. and here I can select the LoRa that I want to use. So for example, I can use this one, Qwen Image Edit Smartphone Snapshot Photo Reality. This one is one of the best Qwen Image Edit LoRa's for realism. So in this case, I've connected an 8-step LoRa's with a LoRa for realism. This one is just to, basically is a LoRa that is used when you want your final picture to seem like it was taken from a smartphone. So maybe an iPhone picture or a Samsung picture. And so in this, I've connected this, but remember, we are working with a Lightning 8-step now, so I have to go 8 and here 1. Also, we have the strength model as we saw previously. So here we want 1 as a value because we are working with Lightning 8-step. Here we want maybe 0.8, as you can see. In this case, the trigger here is amateur photo, and the prompt, I need to change it, is the girl from Image 1 is wearing a blue dress and she is in her living room. Let's use the prompt as before just to see how it works. So now I run it. So as you can see here, this is our final image. Let's take a look at what happens if I remove, for example, this LoRa, so the 8-step LoRa, and so here we put 20 and 3.5. So let's see how it changes our pic. So as you can see, this is the difference. And here, let's do the opposite. As you can see here, it is our picture. And here is the image with just this LoRa and not the LoRa model only, with a steps of 40, a CFG a little bit higher at 4, and with the right sampler, so Res2S. If you don't have Res2S, for example, if you want to use this LoRa, you can download Res for Life from the manager. So manager custom node, you search here Res for Life and you'll download this one and you will have a lot more samplers and schedulers. So sometimes the person that upload a LoRa in ComfyUI, in CVTI for example, will tell you the number of steps, the CFG, the sampler's name to use, and the scheduler to use. So you follow that instruction because, of course, it is optimized for the LoRa that they have created. And so we have seen how to use a LoRa or two LoRas, in this case, if I unbypass this, inside Qwen Image Edit. And of course, now we are going to talk a little bit about not safe for work. So I'm going to show you a not safe for work LoRa's that I used in a previous video, but this time we're going to understand a little bit better what we were doing. So not safe for work, start in 3, 2, 1. And so here you have it. What is a LoRa? How to use a LoRa, how to concatenate more LoRa's to have your final image the way that you want. In next videos, we are going to see how to create your own LoRa and to train your own LoRa to create something that you want. The most used one is to create a LoRa with your character face and body shape so that you can have your specific LoRa's and put it in your workflow to have a consistent character every single time with just your prompt. Of course, if you use Qwen Image Edit, you won't need it because you just upload your character picture and use Qwedit. But if you're using stable Diffusion XL, for example, or if you're using Flux, for example, maybe you want a LoRa with your character face to just prompt it and have your final image with your character. So in next videos, we are going to see how to train a LoRa. In the meantime, let me know if you have any questions. I will leave you the workflows, both this one and this one with the LoRa's, of course, in the description. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, post in the community, reach out to me. I will answer every single question. And so, see you in the next video. Bye bye. and I'll get back to you and let me know what you want to see next. In the meantime, I wish you a great day, take care, and see you next time.